This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran. Welcome you to the new media production. Let me start this over. Hey, this is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio. The lead stories today are a Twitter alternative, Hive, has shut down. Elon Musk says he's resolved the misunderstanding with Tim Cook. Foxconn is giving the iPhone maker is offering payments for finding new workers. And Apple is pushing TSMC, a Taiwanese firm, to make more advanced chips in the United States by 2024. I want to welcome you to episode 1637 of the Geek News Central podcast for Thursday, December 1st. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to all the new listeners of the show. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking the podcast out. Of course, we want you to get over and visit geeknewscentral.com. Go over to the website. Follow or subscribe to the podcast while you are there. Sign up for the newsletter so you don't miss a single episode as I send out a newsletter immediately following the show containing everything I talk about during the podcast. Of course, you can join our chat room. You can join our Mastodon chat server at geeknews.chat or our Discord channel. You can always contact me via email. That's the easiest thing to do, geeknews@gmail.com. Of course, I'm still on Twitter, so you can tweet me at Geek News as well. And follow me here on Facebook just by searching for my name. Partner shows are all linked at geeknewscentral.com. That includes the new media show, the Gadget Professor with Mr. Don Bain, the GNC Week in Review. And what's cool about that show, it's got Scott and Kirk giving a wrap-up at the end of the week, so definitely check that out. And we had an application. We may have a new show join the network. We'll talk about that. Of course, this show is sponsored by the longest-running continuous sponsor of a podcast, and that's our good friends at GoDaddy.com. As I mentioned in the beginning, you can find great deals from GoDaddy at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And one thing I'm very proud to say is the team at GoDaddy reached out. We had a good month in November. I do want to thank all of you for your support and using of the promo codes. As always, you can get 30% off a new product purchase by using my code or $4.99.com for new registrations on transfers as well for new customers only. And the absolute best hosting deal on the planet, $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain, and $2.99 a month to manage WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. Of course, a free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal, business, or business plus plans. Those are once-a-month free trial. Again, all these codes that you can pick up and use at checkout or just click on the link can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And again, thanks to all of you for your ongoing support of the sponsor. And, it's really deeply appreciated. It really, really is. Tonight, I think we are officially, finally, actually lit on Podcast 2.0 apps. So I'm excited about that because I was able to send out my own bat signal today. And we've had a number of shows that have been streaming Satoshis to us. I definitely appreciate all of you that have been supporting the show with your donations. And it's pretty cool to see those contributions stream in and see all the contributions of the show. If you're Bob Papa Pack fan, if you're Scott, if you're User Bree guy, if you're Covert Nerd, Layman Creations, Sir Brian of London, Mike Dell, Marcus, Mitch, Dave, Adam, or Steve, or Papa HD, thank you for your contributions to the show in the forms of Satoshis. And, of course, on the last show, I did send a show off to you guys, the interfaces I see to see all this activity coming in. But it's greatly appreciated, and I tell you, all that it makes a big deal. And we've had a pretty good week as far as value for value donations come in. It's $60, $70, which is pretty awesome considering how few of you have made the switch. I did get a comment from One listener saying Fountain was not as fancy as the app that he was using. We understand that. But you're part of some early stuff here, okay? May not be as refined, but send that app developer the things that you want. Let them know what's missing. Of course, I have done a call out to join the GNC network, and I've had one of the listeners respond and say that they are interested, so that's quite exciting. I have to go and review the show. It's a little different type of a spin, but maybe. But I got to give a look and give a listen as well. But again, I remain open for any of you that want to consider running a tech-type podcast, a tech-associated podcast. And you can more than happy to apply and let me know, and you do that via email. All right, what's on your Christmas shopping list? I want to know what everyone, what is the one thing that you can't afford but you want? Or the one thing you can't afford and you're going to get? I'm kind of curious about that. So let me know. Let me know what's on your list. What's on your Santa Claus list? It is December, and I know many of you have already probably doing some shopping. I'm way behind, way behind. I got to get busy here too, or some of this. Even if I go on Etsy or wherever I may go to pick up some Christmas presents, it's definitely need to give them a couple of weeks lead time. So let's take a minute here and get into the content. Again, thanks to all of you that continue to support the sponsor. Definitely appreciate it. If you're listening today via the live stream on a new podcastapps.com app, send me an email. Let me know that you listened live or you saw the bat signal go out. First up, Elon Musk says he has resolved a misunderstanding with Tim Cook about Twitter potentially being yanked from the Apple App Store. Apparently, they took a little stroll around the campus. Elon and Tim did, and I would have just about paid a whole paycheck to have been tagging along and listening to that conversation. And less than 3 hours after thanking Cook for a tour of Apple's California headquarters, Musk tweeted to say that the two tech entrepreneurs had had a good conversation. Among other things, resolved the misunderstanding about Twitter potentially being removed from the App Store. Musk wrote in the tweet, Tim was clear that Apple never considered doing so. The question then is, who put their thumb on who? Who said you're going to have to abide by this? Or if you don't, well, what do you think that conversation involved? What do you think that involved? I would really love to know how that conversation went. And I think a lot of us would, but I don't think we'll ever know. And stuff, unless things get nasty again, which, they very well could. Foxconn, the iPhone maker, has told its workers that if you recruit a friend or family member, we will give you 1,000 won. Now, what's 1,000 won? That's $141. They'll get 500 won if the person stays working for the company for 15 days. No, if they recruit, they'll be paid 500 won. If the person stays working for the company for 15 days, they'll get another 500 won. So $140 to recruit a friend or family member. And that tells you on the economic scale where things are at. And you just know people are not getting paid that much over there. So time will tell where this leads. But unrest continues in China, as you've seen, having been reported all over the place. Now, everyone in such a doggone big hurry to get off of Twitter. I see it's what's funny is because I've been on Mastodon for a long time. I see individuals that I know who have abandoned Twitter and went to Mastodon, hanging out over there. And it makes me just kind of go, they've rage quit Twitter and for no reason really other than they hate Elon Musk at this point. But some of the folks have went to Hive. Well, Hive became so instantly popular, and really the team over there probably was not prepared. The company has taken the fairly radical step of shutting down its servers for a couple of days. Yes, shutting down the app for a couple of days in response to concern raised by security researchers. Now, if somebody contacted me with a very serious security concern, the first thing we would do is we'd have the dev team work in our dev environment, put in the fixes, get those fixes done, test, and then push those updates into the platform. No one would know nary a thing. We might be down for 15 seconds while they'd reboot a server or something like that, but no one would know that we had an issue. For them to have to shut down the entire app tells me this security issue was so bad that they had no choice, or they were going to lose user data. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that appears could have happened. So if you have been using Hive and haven't been able to get on it, the German team that built it is fixing it. So that's pretty crazy. That just, to me, is like, wow. And guess where they announced their outage and taking the server down? Yep, they announced it on Twitter. Isn't that ironic? So they couldn't even announce their own outage on their own platform because they had to take the platform down. Now, we knew all the way through COVID that chips that goes in cars, chips that goes in airbags, chips that go in all types of electronics were a major shortage across the United States. And we knew that there was going to be lots of forges that were going to be put up in the United States to fix that, so we weren't so reliant upon China. But who are these companies that are coming in to make these factories? Well, one is none other than TSMC. The Taiwanese chip maker has updated plans for its Phoenix fab at the behest of its customers, including Apple, NVIDIA, and AMD, to make 4-nanometer chips versus a less advanced 5-nanometer silicon when it builds its U.S. fab. So the president expected to join Apple Tim Cook, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, and AMD CEO Lisa Su at a ceremony in Arizona next Tuesday, where TSMC will make the announcement. TSMC is also anticipated to confirm the event that it will construct a second fab at the Phoenix site to make 3-nanometer chips. It's the most state-of-the-art silicon in production, according to the Newswire. The company founder said last week that TSMC was weighing the possibilities. The developments mean the United States will have more advanced chip-making capabilities sooner than anticipated. Intel is building out a new fab for advanced chips in Arizona, Ohio, and expect to go online in 2024 and 2025. Meanwhile, Samsung is constructing a leading-edge plant in Texas for a 2024 operation and a possibility of massive expansion. So increased chip-making capabilities, of course, have been a top priority and move its reliance away from Asia by using $52 billion in subsidies that was approved this year to aid by the Congress to aid with the new fab construction. Probably the best $52 billion we'll spend. And this is good news for us, but it's ironic that Apple is going to rely on a Taiwanese firm to build chips for the iPhone in the United States. Oh, how times have changed, right? And hopefully we'll lose our dependence on foreign manufactured chips. At least they're foreign made in the United States. So time will tell. Hey, if you're live on Facebook or on YouTube, please say hi. Matter of fact, I missed a whole bunch of chats on YouTube the other night. I apologize. I saw them come in after the show. I was watching primarily the Facebook feed. FTX crypto villain Sam Bankman-Fried admits, I made a lot of mistakes. Speaking at the New York Times Dealbook Summit against the advice of his lawyers, he believes FTX U.S. operations were solvent, investors could be made whole, but the company's overseas operation, he opined, dragged the company down. He took responsibility for the collapse, admitting that those overseas outposts took risky positions. He admitted to massive failure of oversight of risk management and a responsibility for myself ruining FTX. But he denied driving or knowing of a strategy to commingle funds between FTX and Alameda Research, which will probably get him in jail if they ever extradite him. A company also largely owned by SBF that was FTX's biggest user and huge holder of FTX fake, worthless junk. Absolutely not worth the token it was printed on value. So here's something that I saw on a social media post. Do you guys know who Mr. Wonderful is? Mr. Wonderful lost millions of dollars. He's on Shark Tank. He lost millions of dollars in FTX. He was a spokesman for FTX. And I saw something where he said that he believed that Sam made an honest mistake. Do you that to me is the most incredible, incredulous, understatement, unbelievable deniability I have ever heard come out of a businessman's mouth. He says, as a little crybaby, I've had a bad month. This has not been fun for me. When you lose billions of people's dollars, you had better have a bad month. You better not have no sleep. You better be on the edge of a nervous breakdown. This is crazy. During the hour-plus interview, SBF defended his extensive political donations as support for candidates he felt supported policies that could help head off future pandemics, not attempts to create an easier regulatory environment for FTX. He tried to explain real estate investments in the Bahamas as a recruiting tool to lure talent from Silicon Valley. Was it hookers and blow? What was he using with those Bahama holdings? He appeared contrite during the interview. But here's what matters most. Millions of customers have gotten financially hurt by this individual. And in my opinion, he should not see the light of day for a very, very long time. And anyone that loses millions of dollars to a crook, in my opinion, a villain, in my opinion, and one of the most loosely run things that, to my knowledge, I've ever been a witness of, he should not sleep well at night. On a more happy note, where to get free cookies this weekend for National Cookie Day? National Cookie Day is December 4th if you want free cookies. Insomnia Cookies, Jimmy John's, Nick's, Great American Cookies, Lenny's and Larry's, Potbelly Sandwich Shop, Tiff's Treats are all offering some free cookies. Don't know what you have to do to get one, but it's in the link in the show notes. Or you can go to your local grocery store and pick up some cookies yourself. A new spyware, a Windows spyware from North Korea, steals data from your phone. Spyware traced to North Korea hacking group has been caught scanning phones that connect to infected PCs. It's called the Dolphin malware. And basically, it infects a Windows machine. And then when you connect to your Wi-Fi network or you connect to your computer with your phone, it goes and collects keystrokes, passwords, looks for files, does screenshots, all kinds of crazy stuff. And what's interesting about this is it infects the computer, then goes after the phone as an external attachment. So be careful out there, Windows and Mac users. Everyone wants to be an armchair quarterback. Former Cisco CEO has weighed in on Elon Musk's Twitter leadership playbook. I would have done things the way he did it. I don't know, but I'm not going to discount that Musk has a strategy. But everybody wants to be an armchair quarterback. And I think anyone that spends $47 billion to buy a company, takes it private, can probably do anything he wants the way he wants. And guess what? It's his money to lose. Astronomers say a new huge satellite is as bright as the brightest star. It's the Blue Walker 3. So what, say you, is the Blue Walker 3? Well, the Blue Walker 3 was launched by a Texas-based company. It's a satellite that measures nearly 65 meters across, or about 1/3 the size of a tennis court. Designed and developed by AST Space Mobile, the expansive Blue Walker 3 satellite is intended to demonstrate the ability of standard mobile phones to directly connect to the internet via satellite. Large satellites are necessary to connect to mobile devices without a ground-based antenna. And of course, who's upset? Well, it's definitely stargazers. They say this has a luminance of 1, and it's basically as bright as any of the brightest stars in the sky. And they are not happy, and they have called on AST, and AST really didn't give a very nice response. They said the needs of humans on the ground kind of outweigh the needs of space exploration to a certain extent. I was like, oh, that's probably not the thing to say. But they will work and talk with the science community. I'm sure they will after making a comment like that. Meta is moving out of its fancy New York office. They've given up, I believe, 2 parcels. And the current leases include more than 250,000 square feet across 2 buildings. It's at 30 and 55 Hudson Yards, and they're bouncing out of that lease. I don't blame them. Commercial real estate is, as leases come up and end. Same thing with us. We have a lease in Columbus in a building. No one's in. Come time for our lease to be up, we're out of there. And commercial space is just going to dry up in a big way. A 62-year-old engineer alleges he was sidelined at SpaceX over fears that he might retire or die. Employees there were afraid he was going to die or retire. 62. And someone was following him around, taking notes. And he's basically filed a age discrimination suit. He said he filed a complaint with the Washington State Human Rights Commission, and Insiders viewed a copy. This is over Insiders viewed a copy of the complaint. And he joined SpaceX in 2018 as a principal engineer in optics engineering when he was 58 and received consistently solid performance reviews for what he described as his quite hardcore work ethic. He had back surgery in 2020 and returned to work after just a few days. Howard Johnson said in his complaint he was then stripped of his responsibilities that were given to far younger, less experienced engineers, some of whom he was asked to train without explanation. In his essay, Johnson wrote that one engineer was asked to shadow him because they were fears he might retire or die. Now, here's the thing I've always given people advice on. If you're going to a company to work somewhere and there's someone there that is very, very brilliant, you learn as much as you can from them. You hook your train to them. And I'm not saying that you should do this in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable, but you should work and try to work with those smart individuals to gain as much knowledge as you can from folks that have many decades of experience. And oftentimes they're very happy to share that knowledge because a lot of people today are not willing to take the initiative to say, what's that? How does that work? What does that mean? What are you doing? Can you explain this to me? They won't take the time to do that. So I remember when I was active duty and someone would come up and ask me questions, and I would be happily to train them where I was forced to train people, they really didn't listen oftentimes because they didn't care. They didn't have a vested interest. So I always felt I could better mentor and help someone that was hungry for the knowledge so I didn't mind that, but I never put someone on someone's tail to say, well, in the military it was different too, because every 3 years you leave. So sometimes you're trying to get that knowledge out before the person transfers, not before they retire or die. In my instance, I did retire from the Navy, so I did try to share as much information as I could. And an interesting development, 911 dispatchers say skiers are accidentally setting off Apple's new crash detection technology without realizing they're triggering emergency calls. They say they're seeing more accidental 911 calls from skiers. People should keep the turned on even with accidental should keep the turn. What? All right. So what do they say here? Apple crash detection technology sends a user a message with an alarm sound if it detects a crash. The message can be dismissed, but if it's not within 20 seconds, the tech sends an automated message. I agree this to the closest emergency call center. They'd often respond because they don't know they made the call. But on callback, there's like, I'm sorry, I was skiing. Everything's fine. So they say, keep your phones on. Keep the ringers on. And they have to, if a dispatcher is unable to reach the person who triggered the alert, ski patrol is contacted instead. So I guess be aware of that if you're going skiing, all right? Have your phone somewhere where you can hear it, etc. The Supreme Court battle for Section 230 has begun. The future recommendation algorithms could be at stake. The first shots have been fired in the showdown over web platform terrorism in Section 230. On Tuesday and Wednesday, petitioners filed briefs in the Gonzalez versus Google and Twitter versus Tamaya, a pair of lawsuits blaming platforms for facilitating Islamic State attacks. The court's final ruling determined web services liability for hosting illegal activity, particularly if they promote it with a logarithmic recommendation. And the Supreme Court took up both cases in October, one through because of a family that's suing Google and the other as a preemptive defense filed by Twitter. They're the two of the latest in a long string of suits alleging that websites are legally responsible for failing to remove terrorist propaganda. So, very, very interesting. Elon Musk Neuralink expects to install brain chips in humans in 6 months. Isn't that interesting? Elon Musk took a short break to host another Neuralink show and tell event. And basically, they said they've tested on a bunch of animals, which I know upsets people. But they say that if they get FDA approval, doubtful, they'll be able to start testing on humans soon. But he says the implant uses as many as 1,024 electrode-studded threads to measure brain activity, each of which is inserted in the brain by sewing machine-like robot. Musk says having the implant installed is not unlike having a piece of your skull replaced with a Fitbit. That's kind of scary, isn't it? So anyway, there's a video of the show and tell. Link will be up in the show notes. Google's best app. There's a lot of this best of stuff going on right now, but Google's best app of 2022 is an AI art generator, which sounds about right. They're quickly joining in and recognizing the top apps. So it's called Wombo's Dream. It's an AI art generator, and yes, one of the trendiest technologies of the year. The user's choice winner, meanwhile, is the social media phenomenon Be Real. I'm not familiar with that. I guess I'll have to check it out. So if you want to see the links and see the top apps, it will be in the show notes. If you live in Norway, Norway has less than a month left until the sun sets on its copper phone lines. They are cutting copper permanently. Norway is a couple years ahead of Britain in mothballing its century-old copper telephone network. which is due to shut down on January 1st, 2023. The UK is scheduled to switch from public switch telephone network to voice over IP by December 2025, but although it's geographically 33% smaller than Norway, the task is considerably larger. The Scandinavian country has some 60 million fewer inhabitants as well. And it also, in Norway, has a couple things going for it. Not at least is its mobile network being named the fastest in the world, recording average download speeds of 71.97 megabits per second. So, how long before they do that here in the United States? It's a good question, isn't it? Today's Google Doodle celebrates Jerry Lawson, the father of the video game cartridge. So, oh my God. Video game pioneer Gerald Jerry Lawson, on what would have been his 82nd birthday. The Doodle lets you play 5 retro pixel art platformers in your browser, with 2 even letting you play as Lawson. The Doodler's creators want to inspire young people to follow in his footsteps, and it includes a built-in level editor and creator to nudge them on that path. Lawson was known as the father of video game cartridge, which he developed as a director of engineering and marketing at Fairchild Semiconductor in 1976. The company released the Fairchild Channel F home console, with Lawson serving as lead developer. The Channel F stood for fun, was the first system with interchangeable game cartridges, a novel concept in an era when games were permanently coded into hardware. Interchangeable ROM cartridges were a massive breakthrough that users build entire libraries rather than playing one game again and again and again and again and again. It was a predecessor to platforms like the Atari 2600 and the Nintendo Entertainment System. So even in today's world of always online digital games, the top-selling consoles, Nintendo Switch, still optionally uses a form of a cartridge. LastPass, I got the email. It reveals another security breach. Apparently didn't get to our passwords, thank goodness, according to the report, but they did get into the system. So this happened this past August, and everyone got an email today saying that they'd been hacked. Netflix is reportedly expanding its pool of preview viewers. They'll be able to watch the service's movie and shows ahead of release in exchange for feedback. So this is interesting. Starting next year, viewers will reportedly be able to watch its originals before they become available for streaming. According to the Wall Street Journal, the streaming is expanding its pool of preview viewers to around 2,000 people. When Variety reported about the company's focus group earlier this year, the publication said that Netflix has been asking subscribers if they want to join. I'd love to do that myself, see some of those early releases. And so very, very cool. I wonder if they actually get digital deliveries or if they get them in CD or DVDs. SpaceX has delayed the launch of the Japanese moon lander for last-minute rocket checks. And it's only a day delay. Matter of fact, in about 8 hours or 9 hours from now, 3:37 a.m., their launch is now scheduled for another instantaneous window on it is Thursday. So did it launch? So this is old news. So I don't know. Let me go look and see. It may have already went because we're already past that. Tomorrow's the 2nd. All right. A link will be up in the show notes. Maybe we'll see the replay. Elon's must Starlink to help strengthen internet in remote UK places. They're doing a test. It will test how more than 3,000. Well, they're basically going to go into 4 really remote areas in the UK. It's called the North York Moors National Park, Wasdale Head in the Lake District, and within Snowdonia National Park, as well as a 12th century Rivieux Abbey in. Okay, so that's part of the North York Moors National Park. So anyway, they're going to do trials over there to see how it works. Well, we know how it's going to work. It's going to work great. So why do you even have to do a trial? Sadly, almost 300 predatory loan apps have been found in Google and Apple app stores. Note to self, lenders don't need the contact list on your mobile devices if you're applying for a loan. Of course, the loans came with hidden fees, high interest rates that drove up the payments, and apps asked for sensitive information. So, in a total, more than 251 Android apps were found in the Google Play and collective downloaded more than 15 million times, and 35 iOS apps were also found. And Google and Apple were contacted and said none of them were still available for download. But I bet you people are still having to pay those loans back. But they're predatory lending apps. And they're largely been happening in a lot of foreign countries, too. So about 2,000 got removed in India alone. Disney's made a movie-quality AI tool that automatically makes actors look younger or older. And it's really kind of weird. And you kind of have to see the demo on the website. So you see someone older look younger. Someone looks younger look older, vice versa. So interesting how they can change how we look. It's just a little itty-bitty bit creepy. YouTube lists top trending videos, creators, and songs of 2022. So if you want to see what was hot, what creators were hot, which breakout creators were hot, this is a good one to go through. You can even see what the U.S. top songs were. Encanto Cast was number 1. Kodak Black was number 2. Jessica Darrow, Bad Bunny, Future, Bad Bunny, Karol G, Becky G. These are, I don't even know who these artists are. But top channel was Mr. Beast with 114 million subs. Lowest, or the number 10th, was Ian Boggs with 8 million. So anyway, there's just a whole list here. So definitely check that out. And I definitely will too. Some of these channels I'm not familiar with. Of course, what's hot, what's new on Netflix for December is in the show notes today. So if you want to see what's on Netflix, what's new, what's there, what you can check out, do that. Also, The Rock went into Hawaii, went into a 7-Eleven in Hawaii. And somehow I didn't know The Rock grew up in Hawaii. I don't know how that was known. But he bought every Snickers at the 7-Eleven to right his wrongs. Apparently, Dwayne The Rock Johnson said he's trying to right some wrongs from his youth. The actor and former professional wrestler confessed in a recent post on Instagram that when he was 14 years old, he stole a Snickers bar from a 7-Eleven store in Hawaii every day on the way to the gym for nearly a year. The same store clerk was there every day and always turned her head and never busted me, he said in the post. In a feel-good viral video, Johnson returns to his childhood convenience store to do what he called righting his wrongs and buys every Snicker bar on the shelf. He explained to Instagram that it was the least he could do. I wonder if it was the same owners. He said, when I was 14 years old, every day I used to stop by this and steal a large king-size Snickers bar. He also took care of every purchase for the people who walked in the store, picking up their tab for the shoppers. He left the candy bars at the counter and asked the cashier to give them to anyone else trying to swipe a Snickers bar. So that's very interesting. Well, I hope he made a donation to the owner, too. Elon Musk's joke about putting cocaine back in Coca-Cola has been framed and hung in the lobby at the Twitter headquarters. Now, wouldn't that be a drink? I'm sure if they were able to do that, I'm sure that would be the best-selling global soda ever. But Elon Musk's joke about putting the cocaine back in Coca-Cola has been framed and hung in the lobby at Twitter headquarters, staff says. And there was a picture on a wall. One where he said, hello, literally everyone. And then he's got the Twitter is a water cooler. And then he's got the one about putting the Coke back in Coca-Cola, which was a joke, obviously. San Francisco, yes, listen to this. San Francisco approves police petition to use robots as a deadly force option. The San Francisco Police Department can arm robots with explosive charges in specific life-threatening circumstances. They have given permission to deploy robots that can kill suspects under specific circumstances. And they voted 8-3 despite strong opposition from civil liberty groups. Can be used as deadly force option when risk of loss of life to members of the public or officers are imminent and outweigh any other force option available to the SFPD. I personally think this is a fantastic, good idea. Finally, put the robots in the harm's way, not a human body in a vest. So people aren't too happy about this vote. Cyber Monday sales hit $11 billion. So what did you all buy? Discount hunting shoppers snapped up Pokemon cards, TVs, air fryers on Cyber Monday, pushing sales $11.3 billion. Sales not adjusted for inflation rose 5.8%. Here's the interesting part. Toys were the hottest product, with online sales going up nearly eightfold compared to an average day in October. Electronic sales rose nearly fivefold. About 196.7 million shoppers made purchases during the 5-day holiday period from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. Now, if you want to hear something interesting, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said inflation is the result of all of us spending too much money, buying too much stuff. That's why we have inflation. We're spending too much money. I don't know where she's coming from. I have throttled my purchases significantly. Really? We're spending too much money? That's why we have inflation? Curious, isn't it? All right. So it's going to bring us to the end of the show. I think I got to at least, I think there was an email that came in. Or was it? No, it was on the Mastodon box. Let me look over here. Hang on. Let me see here. Let me get to the right one. Let me go and set notifications. I got an email from, I know who it is, C. Parrish. He said, I've looked at the Fountain podcast ads, lacking too many features that most podcast players have. Yes, we know. I've told you guys that. It's not that much, but please send me back a list so we can tell the app developer what they need to improve it. I don't think there was any other emails that come in. Let me double check real quick, make sure I'm on the right. And let me go here, click that, bada bing, bada boom. And, I did get an email from Darren. Said, Todd, this was probably one of the most important podcasts you've ever done. Free speech has been under attack for decades. Even before 9/11 and the Patriot Act, for most people, the attack has been of no concern, says it hasn't touched them personally and not touched their wallets, at least not directly. But that is no longer the case. The COVID-19 cover-up has touched everyone worldwide. People are now learning that they have been lied to or at least misled by their governments with respect to COVID numbers, causes, and lockdown, masks, etc. I stand with you in your concern. Podcasting, blogs, social media, etc. is even more important as we need them so that the true can be found. Also, thanks for sharing more about V4V. I need to make the jump. I'm a Pocket Cast user right now. I'll make that my end of the year project. Thanks for the great content. And again, just try it, Darren. Just jump on there and just do this show and see how it works. And but appreciate your commentary. As you guys know, I've always been big on freedom of speech. And most people don't know that hate speech, at least in the United States, is protected by the Supreme Court. But it isn't going to change the consequences of you saying something out of line. Okay? I may not like what you say, but you got the right to say it. But you've also got the right to be sued. You've got the right to be, a whole bunch of things. So just be aware, that's kind of where I come from. And I think you guys already know that by listening to the show. All right, it's been my pleasure bringing the podcast. Thank you for being here. Thanks for staying subscribed. Thanks for your insiders, for your $2, $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25 donations. They continue to come. I thank you so much. Those of you that are trying the new Fountain app or trying one of the new podcast apps.com, thank you so much as well. Be back with you Monday for another edition of the Geek Central podcast. We're rocking and rolling here. 3 more shows before I take a break to go on a true vacation. But everyone, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time as I slide sideways to shut down the stream. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.